Hola. So we have so many different projects and shit running now, campaigns and groups and everything, different programs and such. I figured I've got room to branch out myself to spread about, and so I'm gonna make a statement here as to what the plan is with that, just for funsies. I mean, nobody probably gives a shit, but I mean, I want to. I like to make these videos. I like to talk about things, so I'm gonna go ahead and take advantage of the fact that there's a lot of different places for me to put things now, and I can do a lot with it. So I'll state the plan as it stands in that regard. But one idea I had was to grab my notes because I have a lot of notes lying around all over the fucking place that I'm finding as I clean my apartment. I'm finding old notes that I collected throughout my life, and um, during my training, I kept a lot of notes on things that happened with my spotter and what she said. And I figured, at first I figured maybe I could just grab my notes and I could, like, go over them and make use of them, like kind of talk on tangents about what I wrote down so that they don't go to waste. Which that's an idea. I can do that to some extent. But I also then figured, well, we're working the surprise program for arts, so why don't I just go ahead and make my idea is I always wanted to write my story. I wanted to tell my story, my actual story of what happened to me throughout my training and how things came to be. And so why not just tell it, right? Because I have fun making the videos. I've got the notes and it's fucking take forever to write that shit out. I can just tell you guys a story in bits and pieces, in segments. Tell you guys little stories about what happened, short clips. They'll relate experiences that have lessons to be taught. So that'll be fun. I'll do that. And then, you know, obviously I can just go off on tangents if I want to, but I also have found in my notes something that I found particularly insightful is that when I was coming up with a formula for the anatomy of identity, which eventually kind of evolved into the doctrine on value and assets. I mapped out, by mapping out the impulse and how it moves through the body and the chakra and whatnot, I mapped out what I believed were 7 levels of ascension. And the steps by which a person would move through utilizing this impulse and getting it up to the top. And this is the path that it takes, and this is the process by which that's done. But I kind of figured it also as an overall, uh, step process of personal evolution, which goes as follows. The first step would be resonance, which is, and again, this evolved into the doctrine on values and aspects. So if you've seen these processes in there, that's why. But the first step in this process would be resonance, which is, you know, waking up to the world around you, waking up to what's happening, becoming aware of synchronicities, becoming aware of, your connections in the world, and opening up your frequency, your signature, becoming, resonant with others and with the world, and kind of matching up and matching frequencies and, energies resounding and achieving a resonance with people. The second step would be fusion, actually becoming connected and engaging and becoming engaged with the synchronicities, catching a drift and moving along in that regard. The third selection is uh, what's the word? Configuring your signature and configuring the way that synchronicities operate, modifying, personalizing. What's the word, man? Can't think of the word right now, but you know, making things, damn it, that's gonna kill me. What's the word? Uh, I don't know, but personalizing things, making things personal to you. The next step is conception. That's giving birth, obviously giving birth or creating a mission statement, a view, a belief, whatever, a cause, and making that happen, and putting that forth, and having something, an organization develop between you and the people in your life and the world at large. Then evolution is the next step, which obviously is the evolution of that, the growth of it, the development of that organization, and it blossoming into something concrete, something standard, something bigger. Sixth step is liberation. That's where it sets loose and it cuts loose, and you're freed up in it, that you actually have this, you're no longer working towards building something or creating something. It's actually alive and you're in it, and you get to move through the world in that regard. And then the seventh step was salvation or ascension. But salvation, ultimately, achieving your goal, and possibly, likely, resetting and renewing and beginning the cycle anew. Now, this, as I look at it, also applies on a cosmological level to the initiative. This is what we're doing. We're in the first step right now, resonance. We're trying to communicate with others and get people on point and try and create a resonance between all of us and have us all in communication, and working together, or at least being aware of each other. We're trying to make everybody aware that this is happening and achieve that resonance. Fusion, be us, actually getting the network operating, functioning properly, getting everybody on point together and working together towards the commonality. Selection is going to be deciding exactly how we go about things, what we keep, what we don't keep, the values that are removable, what needs to, needs to be maintained, what needs to go, and developing that, working towards getting on page with what how we're going to handle things for the most part. Conception is, it activating the network, activating, taking action, making this happen, changing the world, beginning to actively change the world in that way. Lucid, with a degree of lucidity. I mean, it's happening now. It's already happening. It's well along on its way. But I mean, actively aware of doing it. With purpose behind it. Evolution, obviously, is our evolution. It's moving into a new standard, a new way of living, a better world. New new system. Uh, Liberation is exactly what it says it is. We're free from the old ways. We're free from the old cycles. We're no longer trapped in these repetitive, uh, destructive cycles, and we have this new way is moving. And then salvation, obviously, it's self-explanatory, and we repeat the cycle again. We have created a new cycle that is beneficial to us and that moves into good things. Now, along the lines of salvation, there's also another formula I hadn't thought of. Pilots are, I determined long ago. Boob and I were talking about how to classify certain people. Pilots were one of them, which I believe might have been in reference to one of the color types, but it was, uh, also pilot. I guess you could say pilots are like mechanics. They're people that handle machinery and handle the world in that way, and are materially oriented. Spotters are obviously, you know, kind of, psychically oriented or intellectually oriented. Spotters are everything, but spotters were one of the classifications then, when we were still determining, coming up with these terms. And script, as I've mentioned before, is somebody who retains a lot of information, who is very good at retaining out, information. Doesn't necessarily have a concrete cause about them, other than that they know everything. They're very good at, you know resounding that. And the combination of all three is what we would term a salvager. If we manage to find somebody who is actually a combination of all three of those, which is exceptionally rare, but a salvager would apply to what we're doing now, especially when it comes to dealing with programmed people. We're trying to salvage that them. We're trying to salvage the human technology. We're trying to get rid of this bunk programming that's corrupted, salvage what we can of it to maintain it and to rebuild. In that regard. So uh, that's that. That's the plan. And keep this short for you guys to watch, but that was the steps of our could be the steps of the initiative's goal. Is it where you could put it in that sense? And I like that. I found that, and I decided to share that. So, Helis Lai, Terry, Uni, CRA, Namaste.